Tri-Cities. It's Friday at 9 o'clock, so it's time for Coffee with Karl. I'm Karl Dye from TRIDEC. And today we've got another great group of guests. Today we're going to be speaking with the mayors of both Connell and Benton City. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mayor Linda Lehman from City of Benton City. Good morning, Mayor Lehman.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
And also Mayor Lee Barrow from City of Connell. Good morning, Mayor Barrow.
Hey, Karl, good to be here. Big fan.
Thanks. You know, it's great to get, to talk to people, and hopefully as we open up now to actually see people face to face. And Tracy Jow and our team came up with this idea, and we just started doing it. Me being new last year, it was a good way to, with COVID, to meet people. And it always, I guess it doesn't amaze me, but people are always saying like, hey, we really like the program. And it's just fun to do. Like I say, it's a good way to, get to people, for me to know people remotely and then learn about what's going on, with all of our guests. So thanks both of you guys for joining us this morning. I know you have some great projects and great work going on in both your cities. So it'll be good to learn a little bit more about that. We'll kick it off with our usual coffee cup or mug. Yesterday, we spent the day with Energy Northwest. They had a big announcement. They had X Energy in town, and then Grant County PUD signed up to essentially purchase the small modular reactor and all the power that comes off it. So it was a good day. So I got a coffee mug from them last year at their annual meeting. So just wanted to give a shout out to Energy Northwest. They're great partners for ours, and great corporate partner and community sponsor for sure. So that's my mug or mug story. Mayor Barrow, what do you got for a mug or coffee story for us?
Well, I have my mugs I've had for about 20 years. My daughters used to call it my bug mug when they were home. It's went everywhere with me. Today I'm drinking coffee, my second
awesome.
favorite beverage.
Yeah. Good way to start the day. Mayor Lehman, how about you? Do you have a mug or story you'd like to share with us this morning?
I do.
Wow.
But I'm going to promise you I have a better one at the end of my presentation. But this one is from Italy. My recent trip there about right before COVID. Yeah. So it reminds me of Italy. And I've already finished my coffee for the morning. So I'm drinking water.
Oh, it's great. That's it's very colorful, and a lot of people say that a lot of our surrounding countryside reminds them of parts of Italy. So I don't know if you saw that when you were over there.
Yes, absolutely. I was in Tuscany, so this represents Tuscany on a wine tour.
Great. Always good to support the industry, even in other countries, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, for those of us, for our guests joining us on Zoom, you can ask questions as we go through. If you have any questions for our guests in the question and answer feature. And then if you're watching on Facebook, you can always ask a question in the comment section. And we'll do our best to get to all our questions that we have coming in. But we're going to start off the program today with giving each of the mayors some time here to run through some slides and just kind of cover some of the activities and some of the work that they're doing in each of their cities. So we'll start off with Mayor Barrow, and I think Tracy's got your slide deck, and we'll give you some time to talk about what's going on in Connell.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I guess I'd probably just, before we start the slide, let's talk a little bit about the COVID's impact on our city government. We had quite the learning curve with the COVID, having to shut down City Hall, develop online services for the community, just new technologies that we hadn't really dealt with. Of course, the Zoom meetings, no in-person type meetings, and we even had to develop ways for our employees to work from home, and went to the extreme even of preparing for potential COVID outbreaks, in conjunction with the schools and that. Fortunately, that never happened. We never had to utilize that. And then of course, COVID's financial impact on some of our businesses. I'll go on to the slide, City of Connell's economic outlook. Next slide, please. So in 2020, residential construction wasn't much. We had 4 single-family homes built, 1 duplex. Of course, we were shut down for a few months in the beginning of COVID, and I'm not sure what impact that had, but we did have approximately 50% less construction in 2020 compared to 2019. Next slide. The commercial development in 2020, was pretty good. Dollar General came to town. They purchased one of our some of our commercial real estate. They're in a great location. They're just off of 395 and 260. And they specialize in the smaller communities, so it fit perfectly with our community, and they've been very successful. The North Franklin Visitor Center was also built. That was kind of COVID had an impact on that as far as it delayed construction. And we did have some financial issues with the budget, but ultimately we chose to rebuild or remodel an existing building, city-owned, just off our main Columbia Avenue. And this was a partnership with the Port of Pasco. They approached us and wanted to invest in the North Franklin area, and we felt that the best avenue to go would be a visitor center that would promote the city of Connell as well as our outlying areas. And we hope to have a open house here soon with the public. We haven't opened yet, but we'll have an office for our Chamber of Commerce there. And from what I understand, the volunteers will be there to run it. There's a meeting room, small meeting room for the community as well. But like I said, we hope to have that up and running soon. Next slide, please. Residential construction for 2021 is looking a lot better. We have 5 single-family homes, 3 duplexes, and some anticipated building projects that will happen. Coyote Flats subdivision, and that's a 35-home subdivision. And this is from a local builder that has built several other homes in the city. And then phase 2 of our Oasis subdivision. The first phase was several years ago, but this is the second. I believe it's a new investor, but they would provide 70+ homes.
Wow.
Next slide, please. Commercial development in 2021. We had the Metromart come to town. They purchased some commercial property just off of 395 and 260. This was property that was developed several years ago, and they'll be the first to build on that. That was from a private land that was not city property or city owned, but they'll provide fuel, convenience store, and from what I understand, some type of fast food place. And they are under construction right now. Then we had the expansion of the CBHA clinic. CBHA, they're a medical facility, and they provide medical, dental, vision, and pharmacy. And they've been great in dispersing the COVID vaccinations here in town. They've done a couple of clinics at our community center to date. We were fortunate enough to be able to sell them some commercial properties, city-owned commercial property next to their existing building, and we're happy that they're expanding, and we expect them to be here for a long time. The Coyote Run RV Park expansion, that's a small RV park. They have a mix of full-time and overnighters. This expansion, from what I'm told, will be cater more to the overnighters, gets them a little farther off the highway. And but there's no set date for that construction, but we hope that will happen. And then there's going to be a agricultural meeting and event center. It'll be a small one, but it'll cater to ag-related business and meetings, and that will fit perfectly in our community here. Next slide, please. Connell Public Works improvement projects for 2020. We have the 5th and Franklin water line replacement, Chelan and Elmira water line replacement, and the 5th and Franklin TIB grant chip seal project. For many years, Connell's, we've been replacing water and sewer lines that have just aged, and our Public Works department has done a great job of getting the funding to do that, and it's looking very well at this point.
That's great.
We'll go next slide, please. So Connell Public Works projects for 2021. We have a Country Estates sewer improvement project, and this project will replace septic on several homes and tie them in with city sewer. And that's a goal for the city to eventually have all the, have all those septics replaced and tied in the city. The South Side water line project, that feeds water to Lamb Weston, our largest employer, and water's very important for their production, and we're happy to get that to them without any delay. And then we have the community center parking lot improvement project. That's the photo on the screen. The community center is very popular for events and meetings. It's been here for some time, I think over 20 years. But unfortunately, it was built on a old gravel pit, and we did have some settling issues. The building's been shored up, but we still had an issue with the parking lot. And recently we actually created about a 10-foot sinkhole was developed. So we got right on this, and that construction's underway to shore up that parking lot and be great for the future.
That's good.
Then the Stryker TIB chip seal project on 4th and 5th Avenue. And that's just our continuing, just keeping our streets maintained. We try not to let it get out of control, and chip seal really aids in that. Next slide, please. So future growth for the city of Connell. We'd love to attract more industry. Like I say, Lamb Weston provides a lot of jobs. That's our largest employer. But if we want to grow and attract people, I think industry is important. We do have about 30 acres of industrial land right off of 395, and we're promoting that. We've had a few places look at it. We just haven't attracted that company yet, but we hope to get that going, and we'll continue to promote that. Industry provides jobs, especially, and of course just another revenue for the city. We always welcome retail, commercial services, and currently Connell we have several commercial lots. And one of those lots is where the Dollar Tree actually built. And again, if we do get industry and just more retail, of course, that attracts other people, people to the community. And we do have a shortage. That's what we're lacking of rental. And I would like to see some multifamily rental units build in town. not everyone wants. We have a pretty good building of residential, but that lack of rental unit is a problem. And not everyone wants to come here and build a house. So I think that would definitely, it's needed in the future as we grow.
Sure.
And I think that's the last slide. Thank you.
That was great. Mayor Barrow, on like the city-owned property, how did the city acquire that property? Was it property that had been in city ownership for a long time, or you know, like?
My best recollection is, it is part of the UBI. The city has owned it for quite some time.
Okay.
It is on the far south end of our city.
And that's on the west side of 395.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. I know we worked on some projects, and I've been in touch with city staff, you know, on just like some inquiries that we get, and I think it's great that the city has that property available, you know, for the right kind of opportunity. And I know I read the Port of Pasco did a study a few years ago on, you know, the potential for a future dairy processing site or something that might be a good fit. So, you know, we're always excited to partner with City Connell, and if we get something that comes across our desk that works, you guys are great to work with. So we'll, you know, obviously do everything we can to hopefully bring somebody to town.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You bet. Well, thanks for that overview. Now maybe we'll ask Mayor Lehman to turn her camera on, and I think she's got a few slides here. Maybe we can go through as well. Mayor Lehman, are you ready to show us what's going on in Benton City?
I am.
All right.
And I'll probably take up the extra minute or two that Mayor Barrow didn't use. He gave me a lot of ideas of additional things that I should probably be talking about. I think in terms of my budget priorities, I'd like to go to the next slide because we have three main areas that I wanted to focus on for the next biennium. And the first, of course, is economic recovery for businesses. And what I had envisioned was small, inexpensive, but meaningful steps with the goal of getting more people into our downtown. Economic revitalization, where we improve the appearance of the city and hope to attract more business investors. And then working on city and facility needs. We've been very blessed that we have had the RCO grants where we've been able to purchase an additional riverfront park. And we're working on trying to get that developed at this time, and don't know the outcome yet, whether we'll have funding for that this time. The RCCF grants, or rural county funds, helped us with our sewer line. We were able to bring a force main across the river so that we can serve the south side of the river, which enabled us to now start development on the 212 acres that's owned by the DNR, and another small commercial piece on that side of the river. I guess the important thing for us is that we really need staffing right now. We've had a couple of people leave the organization, but even though we're a small city, we still have to provide the same types of services that a large city does. We have a population now of about 3,600 people. So we need facilities, expanded community center, things like that, and housing for our staff when we get them. So let's go to the next slide. And listening to Mayor Barrow, we had a number of the same sort of issues, you know, getting onto the Zoom meeting, purchasing technology in order to do that. A lot of things that we had never had to deal with before. So it was very similar to what we went through. But we were fortunate to receive the CARES Act distributions, and we were able to give out $99,000 to our businesses from the CARES Act.
Right.
The city was able to keep a few $1,000s, which largely went to the attorney fees, but we did update some of our Zoom equipment with that. Now we have found out about the American Recovery Plan, and Benton City is on the list to possibly receive about $760,000 from that. And we're just now looking into ways that we can utilize that money legally to support some of our expansion needs. So the next thing that we tried to do was form citizen advisory committees. And I did get the invitations out in March, and I've had a few businesses respond to me. We're focusing first on the businesses and wineries on Red Mountain to help advise the city of the ways that the city, things that the city can do to actually help promote the tourism and bring people into the town. I figured more minds are better than just mine, so we're trying to expand that effort. Another thing I'm very excited about is that, and hopefully we're on schedule with this, it's coming up before our council meeting on Tuesday. I wanted to offer free merchandising plans to the businesses. And actually, Mayor Barbara Talbert from Arlington told me about a woman outside of Portland who she had hired maybe 8 years ago, something like that. And she was a merchandising expert. And she went into each business and did a free plan for that business, like a PowerPoint or Photoshop of what that could look like. And she told them how to do their windows, how to lay out their merchandising. It was quite interesting because she said, when you go into a store, people will look at the store just like they read a book. So they'll start from the left, their eyes will go from the left to the right, and then they will go to the right. And so she had a lot of things to offer for us and gave a presentation last month and actually went down and talked to a number of our businesses. And by and large, all of them were very interested in having her advice. So she's submitted a proposal to us, and I'm hopeful that the council will allow her to come in and do that for our businesses. It's not very much money, and I think it would be money that's very well spent. The other priority we have, and we actually had a kickoff for this meeting, we got funded by council for the planning for the I-82 DNR land. It's 212 acres on the south side of the city. And it falls within the Port of Kennewick's purview. So we have got our planner. We have a task order planner, and she has been assigned a task to help us develop a sub-area plan for that property. And we will then try to take that to the planning Planning Commission for our comp plan update at the end of this year. But that's a big project for us that, and we're hoping we can work closely with the DNR and TRIDEC and Visit Tri-Cities and all of the people from Red Mountain on this project. So very excited about that. And hopefully that will actually get rolling around mid-May, because we're going through comp plans right now review and shoreline management plan review. So we're pretty busy at this point. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, please. First, I want to say that we have not had the type of slow building that the mayor just spoke about in Connell. In fact, we have been in a huge growth spurt. We were set back a little bit in early last year, about this time frame when construction was halted, but we now have over 150 housing starts under construction, and it hasn't let up. I mean, we have probably another 150 in the pipeline. So we're rapidly running out of space, and we will need to start moving over to the south side of the highway with our development. So it's a good situation to be in, but it's very taxing on our staff to have this many housing units under development. Our engineer last year said that we've got more housing starts under construction during the COVID year than we had in the past 3 years combined. So the growth spurt is exponential. So hopefully we'll be able to keep up with that. But the plan for I-82 and the downtown, but right now we're focusing on I-82. And as I said, we want to finish that sub-area plan. We're updating our comprehensive plan now for what happened during last year. And then we'll do it again next year to include what we decide on the DNR property. As you may have heard, DNR would like some changes to our current zoning. And so we are trying to accommodate that. Once that has been updated, then we'll begin the target marketing, although we're already getting a lot of interest in that area for commercial and light industrial businesses. We also want to continue to improve the downtown entry appearance. And I will say this, the city has been blessed over the last year. We have had such great support from our Chamber of Commerce. They have just done everything they can to keep our citizens active and have things to do during the COVID. The Revitalization Committee has now expanded, and we have a lot of young entrepreneurs on there that have a common goal of making the city look nice. And so they have taken on a number of projects. The most significant one is cleaning up the parks. They've raised the money to paint the bridge coming into town, and council just authorized that. And then they started on the boat launch, which is just right in their entryway as you go over the bridge on your right-hand side. It had been very overgrown, and we've had some meetings with Fish and Wildlife, and they would like to see a lot of the brush taken out because of fire hazard, and the areas along the river opened up so that more people could enjoy looking at the water. Because right now, there are very few places that you can actually access the water, except for the boat launch. And so the revitalization committee went in and did the brush hog work, and then they hired a professional tree person to come in and do a lot of tree trimming. So now when you cross the bridge, you can actually see that there's a park there. And so I think once that effort gets finished, and we're going to have a big volunteer day on April the 10th, we've got a number of community members and community organizations are coming in and pitching in to help actually clean up the entry to the city. The city is putting in new lighting, and like Connell, we have a new Dollar General, and that is just past the park there that I was describing. And we will try to improve and brighten the lights, the overhead lights, the street lights up to that development. And the Dollar General is slated to open on May 1st. So we're looking forward to that.
That's great.
Other than that, as I was saying, all of our land is being bought up, even by small developers who are purchasing rundown properties. And some of our last commercial property in the city was purchased just a week or two ago on the north side of town. So we're really expanding, and it's like, hold on to your hats because here we go. So from that side of things, I think, you know, our future is bright. We've got a lot of help. We've got a lot of interest. And our median age now in Benton City is 30. So as you can see, that's going to bring a whole new genre in for us. And so things are really happening. In terms of grants, we have a grant writer now who replaced Sue Jetter, who was our grant writer, and we pay a quarter of that grant writer's time. We share with the Port of Benton, the City of Prosser, the Prosser Memorial Hospital, and Benton City. And that has been a godsend to us. And so some of the things that she's going to be working on are, you know, facade grants, ways to help get money for planning. And we've developed a subcommittee of the council along with the Chamber of Commerce and the Revitalization Committee members in there that are kind of screening the grants, because there are a lot of them available now. And so that's ongoing. Other than that, we've been trying to do child-friendly activities. The Revitalization Committee has taken on a walking tour, which was telling our history through art. And we're trying to bring arts and music into town and working with the high school. We've had the high school swing band, which is really excellent, come in, and we're hoping that this year in the park we can give these young bands a venue to come and play and get some experience. Another activity is we're going to be trying farmers market again, kind of on a small scale, but one of our new business owners would like to try it. He has purchased the property next to the Chamber of Commerce, so hopefully we'll be able to have a few vendors. And then one of my proudest things is that we have joined the Hanford Reach Museum Solar System Project, which some of you may know was started by Silas Education. And I found out about this through Rotary. This gentleman, Trevor McDuff, who's a teacher, decided that people don't really have a good feel for the size of the universe or the solar system, and how could he better explain, this scale? Because when we look at the solar system models, at least when I grew up, it was the tabletop model, which was about 1 foot in diameter, and that doesn't really show you how far 93 million miles to the sun is from planet Earth. So I guess they raised the money and have put up the solar arches, which are in front of the Hanford Reach Museum, and that signifies a 40-foot diameter sun. So they took a map of the Tri-Cities and scaled the universe, the solar system, to that sun.
Wow.
And so the solar system goes out all the way beyond Prosser, actually, and up, I believe, up through Connell on some of the outer planets. So I asked, does Benton City fall on one of those orbits? Because this is fantastic. And he started chuckling and he said, yeah. And he chuckled. And I said, okay, which one is it? And he said, Uranus. And I said, oh, fantastic. That's perfect. So we signed up for the Uranus orbital marker.
Wow.
City Council has okayed it. They purchased the marker, which we put in about a year or so ago, a little more than a year ago. And the revitalization committee did the research using information from NASA and photographs from NASA. And now we have 6 informational plaques on a kiosk that talk about how the planet was discovered, interesting scientific facts about the planet, because it is rather mysterious and doesn't fit any of the planetary models that are in existence today. And it's also rotates on its side rather than the way other planets do.
Oh, wow.
Laterally.
Yeah.
So, and it does have rings. So anyway, we're having our ribbon cutting on that. And I believe Kennewick has also shown interest in, I think they are looking at probably Mars or Earth, I'm not sure. And so hopefully this solar system idea will create some scientific tourism for us. And because it is on our bike path, it's at the far west end of our bike path. And the ribbon cutting will be April 25th. And this is where my mug story comes in.
Yeah.
Because of the play on words, we want to have some mugs, and we have t-shirts that we feel are kind of humorous, but at the same time, talk about some of the scientific facts. For example, we will have a mug that says 63 Earths can fit inside Uranus. Yes. Did you know Uranus has rings around it? Looking for Uranus? We found it in Benton City. So we think we can capitalize on the sales of those types of things and get people interested in the scientific work. Hopefully teachers will bring their children out for field trips. So
that's great. That's, I think even the opportunity to get visitors to our region that maybe go to the Reach Museum and they start to learn about the solar project And then, hopefully it's a way to just that they learn that Benton City's there and they come out looking for the memorial, and then, they stay and shop a little bit. That's a great connection, like you say, with the scientific tourism. Wow.
Yes, so I think it'll be great for Benton City, and I will be giving you one of the mugs when we go.
That's awesome. I'll look forward to being able to talk about that one on a future episode. That's great.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, thanks for that overview. That was really informative, and that was kind of one of my first questions that I wanted to ask both of you. And Mayor Lehman, you've already talked about it, and Mayor Barrow, you gave us kind of an update on that you are seeing an increase in residential construction, but we know there's just our whole region continues to grow a lot. And I was just going to ask, and maybe we'll start with Mayor Barrow, about do your citizens, do you have a feel for how many of them work locally in Connell versus how many of them might commute down to the Tri-Cities for work? I mean, and is that part of your community? I would assume it is, but I think that we're seeing really rapid price escalation closer to the core of the Tri-Cities, and I wonder if that's driving some people to look for for some different housing options where you're still really close and can do that. But is that how do you see that stacking up as far as, people live in Connell? Has that always been a part of your citizenry, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We, I guess, might be considered kind of a bedroom community. We do have a good percentage of our people that do live in Tri-Cities and work in Connell.
Okay. We
have Coyote Ridge,
yep,
which a good portion. Of course, we have local people working there as well, but there is, I don't know the percentage, but it's a good percentage that actually live in Tri-Cities. So, but our home sales, they don't stay on the market very often, very long, and prices, competing pretty well with the Tri-Cities as well. So the market's good. So people are still purchasing homes. I assume they're just upgrading, maybe building new houses, purpose. But it'd be nice if more people just actually lived here, built their, and shopped here and that. But our community really supports our local businesses.
Oh, for sure. And I think I think it's great for everybody regionally to have that choice. And both of your cities are great examples of the quality of life that you get in a small town, right? And I mean, I'm a small town kid myself, and it's just a little bit different, when you can walk down Main Street and wave to people that it's a different feeling for sure in small town America, right? And Mayor Lehman, that growth you guys are having is just amazing, and that almost seems like it's proximity with, I know West Richland has, something like 900 homes coming in with some of their subdivisions and stuff, but it sounds like you guys are tracking as well, that you're having that similar kind of growth pattern.
Yes, we are. Yeah, for sure. That's great. We need the population, and hopefully once we have the population, then we'll be able to do better with our variety of businesses.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think that was my next question is with COVID, and we all talked about things that we've all done at both your cities, and then, we've done at TRIDEC, but just adding the technology so we can work remotely and having that flexibility moving forward. But, and again, it's hard to track, but I wonder about people that choose to work remotely, like people that in the future they don't have to go to the office, they can live wherever they want to. But how are both of your cities on your broadband capabilities? Because obviously that's a huge driver. And I know a lot of this next stimulus package that's coming out now, can be applied for broadband. But let's start off with Mayor Lehman. What are your broadband capabilities? And would that be a possibility if you do have some gaps that maybe you could use some of that federal funding for?
Well, about, I'm going to say 8 or 10 years ago, we put in broadband up through the main street, but now we do see a need to expand it off the main drag so that others can access it as well. you know, for like maybe our community centers, our libraries, you know, they're not right on the main drag. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor Barrow, how about you? You guys, you know, as far as providers and opportunities to, you know, to get some higher speed broadband, how are you guys doing in Connell?
We actually, we're doing okay. The broadband's, it services most of the city pretty well. And then there's, and we do have a company that had contacted us last year during COVID, and they still plan to come, from as far as I know, and we'll be in contact with them. And they were supposed, their claim was to provide much higher speed than what we actually have at the moment.
Yeah.
The fiber optic types of internet.
Oh, wow.
So, but we do cover, and all of our facilities have internet at them. Community center, fire hall, the visitor center will as well. And just while we're on the subject, we actually worked with the school during the COVID era to allow students that didn't have internet at home, they could go to our community center, you know, do their work, because there was just a good, decent percentage of school kids that just didn't have access to decent internet where they lived.
Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, it's great that you can provide that community center as that type of a meeting place. I mean, obviously that's the purpose of a community center in general, to be able to do that. And then both of you hit on it a little bit, but I wanted to ask a little bit more about infrastructure, you know, sewer and water and access to those, as, you know, like as we work on projects potentially together in the future for, you know, maybe even industrial, light industrial, commercial companies. What we're seeing more and more on a lot of our projects is that infrastructure a lot of times now is the driving force. You know, like if you have the infrastructure available, or you can put it in place within a certain timeline, that's kind of the go, no go decision for companies. But you know, as far as capacity, maybe we'll just start with wastewater. How are you doing? Like, let's start with Mayor Lehman, and how, you know, what's the capacity? Do you guys have capacity to grow, whether it's residential or even, you know, commercial, industrial in your infrastructure?
Yes, we do. We've undertaken a capacity report. We haven't gotten the analysis back yet, but the last one we had, we do have sufficient capability. What we lack are some of the sewer lines. You know, we're still locating some of them. Some of them have been buried for a long time. So just, we're trying to get them on the GIS system right now. But it's been a real challenge to try to locate some of them because they are very old. We've been going through and relining parts of the sewer line. We've had them all cameraed. But one thing we are looking at is the possibility of maybe taking the sewer lines up Jacobs Road for the I-82 project. We'd have to get help from our CCF if that were the case. And they did not okay any of our projects in the last year. So I'm hoping that this year will be better for that.
You bet. Mayor Barrow, how are you guys doing on infrastructure as far as capacity and, you know, kind of future growth potential?
Sure. Yeah, as far as wastewater, yeah, we absolutely have potential for a lot of growth. Of course, our growth isn't doesn't happen as quickly as with Benton City or the other areas, but yeah, for the well into the future, our wastewater's looking good. Of course, we're using groundwater here. We have several deep wells, and you know, we have plenty of water to supply future development as well.
Oh, that's great. Well, I was going to bring up on the, you know, talking about infrastructure, and obviously, I'm sure you guys have been contacted by our local congressional offices, but it looks like, you know, the federal Congress is going to return to earmark. So there's, you know, this upcoming infrastructure package that's going to start moving through, and then in the future they'll have earmarks. And I think What we've seen is they're opening up like through a web portal. You can kind of like list your local priorities if there was a need for a federal, either through the, this infrastructure stimulus or even in the future through earmarks. And so hopefully those would be, that there would be a way to consider, some rural communities with more of the urban centers and kind of give you guys a shot if you need some for, and maybe it's broadband, maybe it's, sewer or distribution networks or something like that. So hopefully that would be a good source beyond some of the state sources, Mayor Lehman, that you're talking about. And of course, if there's anything we can do to help with that, that's something we'd love to partner with you on for that. Mayor Lehman, you talked about this next round of stimulus that's coming out, the rescue plan, and that there will be maybe direct payments to cities, and what you guys are going to use that for. But Mayor Barrow, are you guys, looking at that too? Do you know, or do you have I don't even know how it works, but I think that money this time, instead of coming through the states, maybe going to come directly to cities. Is that sort of what you guys have heard, or the way it's going to work?
Yeah, we're still looking into what it can be used for.
Yeah.
From my understanding, I think we will be able to utilize some on infrastructure like water, sewer.
Okay.
And like I said, we've worked hard to get old water sewer lines up to date.
You bet.
And it's an ongoing process, but yeah, if we could utilize that money for that, that would be a great boon to the city.
Oh, totally. Mayor Lehman, you kind of gave us an outline. I think that you guys had, there's a potential for, millions of dollars. And I think both your cities did some direct grants. I think you both talked about that on with the CARES Act money, and we're able to help some local businesses. But how are your businesses doing? Do you feel like they're still being impacted, or, with now that we're in the phase 2, are more businesses opening up, and, restaurants and retail spaces? How's that going? Maybe we'll start with Mayor Lehman this time.
Well, our hardest hit businesses were obviously the Palm Bar and our restaurants. I think with it opening up, it's helping. We also, but they're still not back to 100%.
Yeah.
The other sector that was hit very hard was our vacation rental market, and the rental market in general, because if there are a lot of people that feel like, well, I don't have to pay my rent now, and they've extended that moratorium on having people leave through June now, I understand. So for those home landlords, I think things are pretty tough when they have tenants that aren't paying. But all in all, I see things coming back. We did lose a few businesses because of it, but I think things are coming back. That's
great. Mayor Barrow, how about Connell? How are businesses doing up there? You get a feel for it. And I know I talked to Maria Pena, your city manager, a few times during COVID, and she was saying that, from what I recall, that businesses were relatively doing pretty good and surviving. But how are things now? What's the business climate like out there?
Yeah, we're fortunate that most of we're considered essential. In the Lamb Weston, they never had to shut down. Well, I think they shut down for a week. Was all, just because of COVID. Yeah. But virtually, yeah, they, that employs a lot of people in our city, and we're fortunate they never did have to. But our restaurants, they were able to do to go or delivery orders, and as a whole, they're doing well. We haven't lost any businesses to COVID. The ones that struggled, of course, was a few hair salons and our movie theater. And we were able to help the struggling businesses with the COVID money. And I think that, of course, got them through. And now everything's starting to open up again. And like I said, this community just supports our businesses tremendously. And so the outlook is actually looking pretty good. I like it.
That's good. Well, it's good to hear. It's, I mean, like you say, those businesses are the heart and soul of your town. And, obviously, it's cool to see how all the communities come together, where it's our broader region or in each of your cities, how everybody comes together to support each other. And I think we're just about 3 minutes down, but maybe I'll give each of you a chance to have some closing remarks. But I wanted to just highlight and thank you guys for your service. I know anytime you have to run for office and you're an elected official, it's kind of a process, no matter where you're at. And in a small town, especially, and I'm talking from my own history and even my family, my I have an older sister that's a city clerk in a small town, over in Whitman County, and both my mom and dad served on city council in another small town in Spokane County. And, it's not an easy task. I just wanted to thank both of you for your service to your communities. It really makes a difference. And obviously with what you guys both have going on, you're really making some good progress, really putting some of your tax dollars to work and improving the quality of life for all your citizens. So I just wanted to say thanks for joining us today. And then thanks for your service. It's again, from TRIDEC's perspective, we want to make sure that we don't forget about, both your communities and other towns that we have throughout Benton and Franklin counties. And if there's ever anything we can do to help or partner or network or help with a connection or something, just give us a call. We sure appreciate the partnership with both of you and more things we can do in the future. But let's go to Mayor Lehman, and if you'd like to give us a few closing remarks, and thanks for being on today.
Okay, well, thank you for having us, Karl. And I also look forward to working with TRIDEC, especially on our planning process on I-82. But in closing, I'd like to invite those that are listening to come out and see the Uranus Monument and what we have planned for the walking trail. So thank you.
That's great. Yeah. And I look forward to that mug. That's a great offer. Thank you.
Right.
Mayor Barrow, any closing remarks you want to leave us with today?
Well, I want Linda to put me on the list to get one of those mugs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to replace the bug mug. I like that idea. No, I appreciate you allowing us to do this and just highlighting some of the stuff going on in our city. I look forward to the future. Our city financially has come out of this well, and as well as our businesses. So I look forward to getting to the end of this the COVID era and at least get things back semi-normal. I don't know if they'll ever do normal again, but let's try. But no, very much appreciate being here.
You bet. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and it's great to see both of you virtually. I look forward to being able to see each other face to face soon. And for everybody listening to us, we'll be back next week with another episode of Coffee with Karl. Thank you both, and have a good weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.